Ladies and gentlemen of Knucklehead Nation, welcome to yet another episode of the Fighters Rep podcast. And I'm here with a guy that I just had to talk to after the last Fighters Rep, man. It's none other than the Fighters Rep super middleweight champion of the world, Joshua the Crook Caldwell. Joshua, how are you, champ?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. I was just talking to you about the hat before this, man. You told me it's a family thing.
Yeah.
I'm a Miami, Florida native, man. I see that Florida Marlins hat. It brings back memories. Tell me a little bit about that before we get started.
um, it's just really just how we all represent each other. My whole family, they come out and we all wear this as like just how when I look out in the crowd, I know exactly who I'm looking for. You know what I mean? And they typically all have a Blackbeard shirt on as well, but yeah, this is what how we coming.
And it's hard to miss that, like, that aqua blue kind of Marlins color in that crowd of
Right.
people. So it's easy. They're also rambunctious and loud a little bit. I love that. I love
Yeah,
it.
I love it too, man. I support
Especially
it.
your brother. Listen, I wanted to tell you, man, your family, man. Wow, what a fantastic support system you have. What an amazing family you have, man. You guys are so tight knit. I love the things that you say post fight. You've just you're not just a fighter anymore, Joshua, man. You're working at Mike. You're a real role model kind of guy. You know what I
Uh-huh.
mean? Tell me a little bit about that, man. Where's all this coming from? Let people get to know you a little bit because it's very interesting.
Um, Ever since I was a kid, I've always had like a leadership spoken over my life. Um, I went to church. I was like 6 or 7 years old, and the pastor said Joshua was the leader for the Lord. You know what I mean? And ever since I've growing up, always been reminded of that. Like it don't matter what decisions I made, being in trouble, whatever. I was always reminded to be a good leader. And so that's my whole mission statement. Before I leave this earth, I want to impact as many people as I can in making them better leaders and pretty much getting the best out of everybody I can come in contact with. If that's in the fighting realm, if that's with coaching, with anything, you know what I mean? I just want to see people be the best they can be. And that's why you always see me showing love to all the fighters. You know what I mean? Like I'm gonna give you the big credit for going to war. You know what I mean? It's not an easy thing to do, and for the people that see it through, I'm gonna give you a respect.
And I see we got a special guest in the camera now. Who's
Yeah,
that?
that's Scrappy. He go everywhere. This dude is, yeah, he loves
Man,
the
I
camera.
love that dog, man. I see him with you at weigh-ins. I see him with you everywhere, man. I love it. I love it.
Mhm.
It's you're definitely doing it through the fighting, right? I think
Right.
not only the way you talk and the way you conduct yourself and the example that you set in the way that you fight is doing that, but it's interesting that you mentioned in coaching as well because I know you coach as well.
Right.
Um, and the interesting thing is that's a great segue into what's happening in this next Fighters Rep. I didn't
Right.
think we were going to touch on it so quick, but you're actually coming through as a coach. You're taking this next show off probably to heal the body a little bit, I would imagine, coming through as a
Mhm.
coach. Tell me what the plan is for this next Fighters Rep.
Um, like I said, I've been working with a lot of different people and trying to get them motivated. And I got this guy, Maurice, and he's extremely motivated guy. He's been training with me, doing going through the reps, and he told me he wanted to fight. He went and watched the fight live, and then texted me right after and was telling me said he wants to fight, so he signed himself up. So it's like when you got a guy like that that's really wanting to get out there and get in the ring, I'm gonna stick with him, and we're gonna see it through. I think he froze.
In there, I'm sorry about that, Joshua. When you said when you got a guy that's willing like that, and then all of a sudden we had a bit of a hiccup on the connection. So go ahead and repeat
Uh,
what you said after you said that. When you
um,
got a guy that's willing.
Yeah, when you got a guy that's willing to go out there and fight like that, I'm gonna just, I'm gonna stick with him and see it through. I think that you can't beat that kind of heart, and you can't teach that kind of heart. You know what I mean? The desire to fight is like that's the biggest part of being a fighter. So
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what he go out there and do.
Yeah, no, it's very cool to still have you involved in some way, shape, or form. I mean, I know you've been at this. You've been on you've been a Fighters Rep staple for a year now. You've had like 4 or 5 fights in a row with us. You've
Right.
become champion, and I understand the needing a break. I mean, tell me a little bit about that. Is it because the body just needs some time to heal up, or what's going on there?
Well, yeah, just more of just getting more of a focus, like going back to back to back after fights. I'm stuck in a fight mindset. That's all I'm thinking about. That's all I want to do. When I get up, I'm running, I'm getting in shape, and I'm getting to the grind. So
Yeah.
now just taking a break from thinking about that and learning how to do the business side of being a fighter, and working on sponsorship and even coaching, developing the guys we got over at Blackbeard, developing my own guys, and just taking some time to think and think about our next step and going bigger. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
maybe even going, definitely going pro. I want to. It's time. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, speaking of which, you say it's time, and I'm very cautious, right? Because as a promoter, I kind of also act as an advisor, kind of impliedly, even if it's not explicit. I'm kind of every fight I put you guys in, I think you can tell, haven't fought for me for over a year now. Every fight I put you guys in is a developmental fight. How can I make this kid better? Win or lose, I feel like I make the fights to make you guys better. And you mentioned going pro. In this last fight, you fought a guy in Kaylee Scott, Joshua. I mean, he's a bit older, but my goodness, he was in the shape of a 20-year-old. And 13-6 or some sort of record like that. I mean, just absolutely, over the top amateur record when you're talking about kickboxing, especially at the amateur level. It was
Right.
pretty much the toughest fight, I could find for you, and you got the job done.
Absolutely.
Kind of tell me about that fight, how you felt about that fight, how you feeling since that fight.
I felt like that fight was everything that I needed. It was like I never want to go backwards in my experiences. And you're right, this amateur level, I want to get the best experience. So when I found out I was going to fight a guy with 20 fights, like this is where I really get to test my skill. And I know he's fought 5 rounds before, you know what I mean? And even then, I had to go a whole 5 rounds. That was a good test as well. So I was ready for the test. And if I was going forward, and if it came out to a war, I was ready for that. You know what I mean? And that's exactly what it was. And that dude made me a better fighter that day, and my perspective on fighting has changed since then. You know what I mean? Like he has such a joy towards it, and I mean I've always had such a hard competitive, mindset towards it. I just want to win. I just want to win, but the joy of winning is great, but also just enjoying the overall aspect of being a great fighter. You know what I mean? And yeah, it's been good.
Kaylee does do a fantastic job of that, and it's kind of fascinating, right? Because leading into the fight, I know how many fights he had versus how many you had, but
Right.
I also knew that you had a lot of stuff on your side, right? I'll say this. I mean, for me personally, like, I just don't think there are many fighters out there in any sport that kind of have the combination of, power, speed, athleticism, technique, height, and length. I mean, you got your arms are like mine. We're knuckle draggers, me and you, but your arms are super long. And I said to myself, wow, this is a real test. But the way he was approaching the fight versus the way you were approaching the fight, it made me feel like this is a very even fight, because I almost took it as if he was just happy to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Versus a guy in you who just wanted to win so bad. I said, okay, if Kaylee has an experience advantage, man, Joshua's mentality is going to carry him through this fight. And it ended up being like a very even fight. I mean, I think you pulled it out when you got that standing 8 count, to be honest with you. That was a very, very even fight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And at the end of the third round, my brother just lit a fire, and that's what I love about him. He was honest with me. He said, "This is way too close. You need to go. You need to go." And that lit a fire. And in the fourth round, I got the 8 count. But all respect to Kaylee. It was a battle, and it was tough.
Tough guy, tough guy. I actually, again, like I thought it was an even fight. Then I heard the way he was going into it. I was like, man, I think Josh was going to win if he's got this mentality versus Kaylee's. But like
Right.
you said, he's got this like unconventional joy just for being there. That's hard to overcome. It's almost hard to overcome. Shout out to MZ and of course Jason Caldwell in the chat. Thank you guys so much for joining. If it's your first time watching this channel, please hit the subscribe button, the like button, and be sure to follow our super middleweight champion, Joshua Crook Caldwell, on Instagram at Don't Call Me Joshy. I would never call you Josh unless I had to repeat the Instagram name. Very close fight. Your brother did. I could see your brother light that fire underneath you, and I felt like you turned it up a notch. And your boxing, man, your boxing it's just a bit, further along than a lot of the kickboxers. Kind of tell me a little bit about your style, Josh, because a lot of people love your style, man.
Yeah, I've always wanted to have great technique, and like some of my favorite fighters, like Kevin Ross. He throws a lot of shots, and then he'll end with a kick, which I'm getting to. You know what I mean? So it's like I'm building my technique off of hands first and scoring them points, and then I want to end with big kicks. And my whole thing is like I want the whole show, all 5 rounds, to look good. I want to look professional all 5 rounds. You know what I mean? And at the end of that, I don't care about winning or losing. I just want to make sure I look sharp. And when people go to see me, it's a great show, and I'm putting up the numbers, and I'm excited to see.
Yeah. So we're taking this fight off. We're kind of taking the foot off the gas pedal a little bit because you talked to me about that fighter mentality. I mean, that has to be exhausting, right? Having done that for an entire year to be in that
Right.
mindset. Is that what it is? Because I'm not a fighter. I'm not going to pretend I'm a fighter, Joshua. You're a fighter.
Yeah,
What I mean?
and no way I'm taking the foot off the gas. I got up and ran my miles today. I'm still in the gym and still being active. I'm going even harder now that I'm considering to transition. You know what I mean? So even if it's going to pro boxing or going back to FightersRep, going pro, whatever, I want to be in the best shape and be prepared to get another belt. You know what I mean? So this is not a break. This is just a time to refocus and see how I'm gonna go harder. You know what I mean? Make a plan on going further.
I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that. And you talk about pro boxing too, man. You've got a very, very good, you've got good hands. You've got really good hands. You're not just a kickboxer. You got nice kicks, but you got good hands. I mean, is that what's, if you could kind of set your trajectory right now, what is it you're going towards? Kickboxing, boxing? Would you just like to do both? What are we looking at?
I would like to do both. I would like to do both. I want to have belts in both. I want to build teams in both, and ultimately just get everything I can out of being a striker and being, But it's mostly gonna stay here in the striking, boxing, and kickboxing.
Do you have a boxing base?
Yeah. I trained my boxing out of Modern Boxing Sports Performance in Riverside, and that's where I coach out of it as well. I got a great team over there, guys that work with me, hold pads for me, make sure I'm sharp, and that also helps out a lot,
Yeah.
And even sparring with those guys.
Yeah, well, I mean, Josh, the boxing world is obviously it's different from the kickboxing world. Some of these kids have been boxing since they were 6, 7 years old. You know what I mean? And the amateurs, I mean, boxing is, completely different from kickboxing. How would you say you're holding up against guys that have been just boxing their entire life? I mean, I would imagine all the attributes that you have, they help you a lot, the length, the speed, the power, everything else. But kind of you tell me in your own words, how is that?
If I can be honest, I'm a great boxer.
Yeah.
Not having to worry about being kicked. I can really set into my stances. You know what I mean? And I mean, I'm coming up, you'll be able to see very soon. I love boxing, and that's really what got me into fighting in general, is Muhammad Ali, and wanting to be like Mike Tyson and all those guys. So, yeah, I plan to box and use boxing and kickboxing, and just I want to bring my knockout rate up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You got David Rivera, a former opponent, in here. He says he does have good hands. Rolls eyes, LOL. And then we've got MZ in here. He says, "What's up, George and Josh?" And he says, "Hey, Josh, do you have a martial arts background?" He wants to know if you have a martial arts background.
No, like karate or it's something. No, just Muay Thai, kickboxing, and boxing.
Yeah, and Josh, or MZ, just so you know, of course, Joshua Caldwell's coach is his brother, Jason Caldwell. Jason was, I want to say, primarily a Muay Thai fighter. Is that
right?
So I guess that would be the sort of martial arts base that Josh had. He's a striker all
Right.
around. Now, Josh, have you thought about doing any MMA? Do you do any grappling or anything like that? Or
yes. Actually, when I started doing MMA, when I was getting into this whole thing, I got my basic down for jiu-jitsu, some decent wrestling. And let me shout out David Rivera. That's a very solid guy, man. He during weigh-ins, he let me borrow a shirt. He's a great guy, and thank you for that great fight. But yeah, man. Forgot what I was even saying. What were we talking about?
You were talking about MMA. You started in MMA before.
Oh yeah. MMA would be great. It would be fun to do. I love wrestling. I love jiu-jitsu. I just like to compete, George. Yeah. I want to win. I want to get in there and I want to win, And,
for sure.
And I would take an MMA fight. I could consider it at this point,
Yeah. It's just, the promoter / advisor part of me says, man, this guy, so many great attributes, very good skills. I want you to succeed. I want you to go after whatever trajectory it is that's going to get you the most happiness and the most money. You know what I mean? That's kind of the way I'm thinking about it. I know you're thinking about, going pro. We are going to be probably having our next pro card in February. This December one's going to be amateur. So, maybe it's a good thing you're not on this December one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Joshua, so you're coaching, and like you mentioned, you got this kid Maurice Dorsey competing on the next Fighters Rep. Who else are you coaching? If anyone, how's that kind of helping you with your own career, the coaching thing?
The coaching thing keeps me grounded, man. I coach a lot of kids. I coach women, everyone I can, but ultimately I'm even working on that. Bringing down the time that I'm going to be coaching, getting everybody into classes, so I can be more focused on fighting. So I love the fact that I coach, and God's blessed me with the ability to really get some great results out of people. You know what I mean? I got a 6-year-old kid that is ridiculous. Ridiculous hands, and he all he wants to do is train. So I'm able to give people that mindset and change the mindset. So coaching is very rewarding, man.
Yeah. And Kings United. Tell me about Kings United. Tell me about Kings United.
It's exactly that. It's how I want to represent it. It's bringing the best out of everyone that I train, right? And I want to eventually make it into a gym. That's the plan. I want to open the Kings United gym, but right now it's all about just building up whoever wants to be tough and whoever wants to fight. You know what I mean? And let's get them going.
And guys, just so you know, that's the Crook, the champ. That's his brand. That's his coaching brand, I would imagine. Kings United.
Sure.
You've got apparel. You've got other stuff going on. They can check it out, I'm sure, and buy apparel at Kings United on Instagram if they want to do that.
Right.
Very cool, man. Very cool, Joshua. So, you got this Fighters, your first time wearing your coach's hat at a Fighters Rep show. How does it feel not to be competing, to be sitting in the corner this time?
I know I'm gonna be antsy. I know I'm gonna want to be in there. Yeah, I know, but I know it's gonna keep me motivated and want to go even harder when for February. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Just staying in there, even if I'm not competing, being in that realm. Like we got some people on our team fighting at the end of the month on a different show, but it's like everybody's still in camp. You know what I mean? That energy's still there, so it's beautiful. I don't ever want to not be in that competitive mindset.
And I imagine, you're kind of going back and forth, working with your brother, Blackbeard Kickboxing, Jason
Mhm.
Caldwell. Or is he giving you tips? Are you guys going kind of back and forth with these fighters, cross training and doing stuff like that?
Yeah, yeah. My brother's always a big mentor and helping me guide, my next step and even helping me with development for my guys. So uh, he's always there. I call his dude for everything.
Yeah, and then let's plug him real quick. How is it? How has it been having Jason Caldwell in your corner throughout your career in fighting?
Um, he's tough on me. The expectation is always high. He's not going to accept no weakness, no shit, no excuses. So it's constantly driving that no pressure, no diamond. You know what I mean? And that's really what it's all about too. He's never going to let me not be under that pressure.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
and if I'm lacking or slacking in any way, he's gonna make sure he light a fire. So that's why I like too is that being not even just him, but the whole Blackbeard crew is that accountability is everything. You know what I mean? Like when
Yeah.
you in the gym for that hour, we working, and even after that, we working. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's a competitive place.
I love that. I want to say, you mentioned no pressure, no diamond. Going into the fight with Kaylee, were you thinking about the disparity in the records? Was that, did that put a lot of pressure on you knowing that you were going to fight this guy with 20 fights and you had nothing but 6 or 7 and you were going to have to come essentially and fight a great fight to get past this guy?
Yeah, yeah. But I watch a lot of like boxing documentaries, and all the greatest fighters have to fight. They have to prove themselves. It's always a proven time. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
my proven time. And I had to show up fearless, and I had to show up and get the job done.
Man,
That's really what it's all about. You
yeah.
have to you're gonna go through that so you can shine at the end, and that's what Kaylee said when he said he wanted us both to shine. It's like it takes a lot to get in that ring. It takes a lot to
Mhm.
overcome. You know what I mean? But ultimately, you go in there and you give it your all. That's the victory.
Now you won a title in the show before that at Fighters Rep 14, but man, this win against a guy with a record like Kaylee's is probably your biggest win, I want to say, as far as I'm concerned. How do
Um,
you feel about that though? What's kind of your zenith so far, your crown jewel kind of moment as a fighter?
um, but to be honest, fighting as the main event takes some more planning. You know what I mean? It was like just sitting back there watching everybody come back. They're already done for the night. You know what I mean? It's starting. I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm getting hungry. It's like your adrenaline's going up and down the whole time. So for me, it was just like still seeing it through and being able to go in there calm. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
after all that, you've sat there and thought about a million things for about the last 5 6 hours. It's like mentally exhausted more than anything, but got to get it together, get calm, and get the job done.
Yeah, there's something I don't know. Well, I think this was disclosed to you, but for your fight in particular, and this is the second time this happens in a couple of shows where when guys' records, when there's a disparity in the records,
Uh,
we have to get a form signed,
right.
like a waiver, and you had to sign that at the last show. Am I
Yeah,
right?
yeah, I did.
So, this is something. This is something the commission does, whether it's the IKF or whatever it is. They do that, when they see a guy's record, versus another guy, and he has a lot less fights to protect themselves. They say, hey, sign this waiver knowing that you're very aware of the fact that this person's a lot more experienced than you. Did that add a little bit more drama, a little bit more pressure because they give it to you at the weigh-in, right?
At the weigh-in, yeah.
They gave it to you at the weigh-in, and they gave it to me, and they had me sign it, right? And I want to tell you this before I let you say what you're saying. They handed it to me, and I was like, really? You think Joshua Caldwell is worried about fighting this guy? I said, right. Get this out of my face. But, kind of tell me what you thought about that. I thought that was funny.
I was a little offended. I was a little offended. A little bit. But, it was like they don't know me yet. They don't know me yet. And I just signed the paper. Say, all right, for sure. Okay. But that's fine. You know what I mean? I would love to always be the underdog. Give me some experience, guys. You know what I mean? That makes me fight better. Right. I'm gonna rise to that pressure. I'm gonna get it done. So it was cool. It was like and even just being there with me and my dog was like it was nobody to you can't confide in nobody. It was like I'm about to write this down. We're gonna get the job done. So it was cool.
My goodness, and the way they presented that at weigh-in, they gave it to me at weigh-in. I was like, what the hell is this? And, the funny thing is that's happened to me twice in the last 3 shows. And both times, the person that they thought was the underdog ended up winning. It was you on the last one. It was Ahmed Rasuli on FightersRep 13. I don't know if you remember him. He fought Edgar Barbary for the heavyweight championship. They actually told me, hey, he's got a lot less fights. He's got to sign this. And I said, no problem. He ended up winning. So, and your brother's in the chat, Jason Caldwell. He says, records, schmeckers. He's not even worried about that. So. Another interesting person, Joshua, in the chat. We've got Jason Granado in the chat who, you mentioned you're giving credit and you're showing a lot of love to the fighters on the card. They're showing it right back to you. I think you've got everybody's respect in this thing of ours, right? In this community we built at FightersRep. You've got everybody's respect. And of course, when they hear anything positive from the champ, I feel like they light up like a Christmas tree. Jason Granado being one of them. I seen you guys, exchange compliments on social media, but the interesting thing is, he's in here, he's saying Big Josh, he's throwing his hands up, he's putting the goat out there, but he's actually going to be fighting your guy, So.
Bro, that kid is next level. That kid is next level, and I think that he has all the charisma to be champ. You know what I mean? He got it. He got it all going for him. But that's one thing too is that I don't want. It's not a rivalry. We're getting that experience, man. You know what I mean? And I want him to continue to be successful, continue to do his thing, but we're going to come out to fight. You know what I mean? And I know that kid is ready to go. So I'm expecting a good show between him and Maurice.
For sure. Well, Josh, another thing I wanted to ask you about, you're the champ. And in that last event, man, we had a hell of a co-main event where Raymond Martinez became champ. He called you out. He called you out because he wants to fight. I don't think it's any disrespect. I think he just wants to fight, which I admire about him. But it was a fight where, a lot of people felt like Cameron Spencer was winning. And then Raymond Martinez lands this bomb of a left hand. You know what I mean? And kind of, that was the beginning of the end of the fight. The referee ended up stopping it. They're having a rematch, right? So any talk of you and Raymond, if it ever happens, because I'm not even sure you would want to go up to that weight or he would want to drop down to yours, but any talk of that is definitely sidelined because he's going to be fighting Cameron Spencer. Kind of give me your thoughts on that fight and give me your thoughts on the rematch. I'd love to hear your opinion.
I think that fight was crazy. They were both just like two bulls, you know what I mean? Just going crazy. But I think Cameron was outscoring him. You know what I mean? He was being more technical. He was landing more. Raymond has that overhand or whatever hand it is, but he's hitting people really hard with it. I think it was kind of kind of, I don't know. I don't know about the stoppage. You know what I mean? I think that he was a little wobbly, but they were both tired. You know what I mean? So it could have been more fatigued than it was him being rocked. And I know, you know, that I know it had to hurt going out like that. You know what I mean? I'd rather be knocked out. You know what I mean? But that shit's tough. And I'm glad he's getting his rematch back. You know what I mean? To be able to at least get I would want the win without a doubt. You know what I mean? I wouldn't want any question about it. So that's dope for both of them to be able to go, you know, run that back, because I know Raymond's happy to be the champion, but you know what I mean? Did you? You know, I would want to. I would want to win it a different way. So,
seal the deal.
I would want to seal the deal. Yeah. I wouldn't want any question about it. So, I mean, if you did it, you could do it again.
Yeah. I think a lot of people, you know, feel that way. A lot of people think, you know, Raymond just won. But you know, if Cam wins this one, and you know, I've spoken to both sides. If he wins this one coming up, now we got a rubber match because it's 1-1. You know what I mean? So this series could last. Now this fight will be the main event on the next card, and you know, I think it's going to be a worthwhile main event, man.
Definitely, I'm staying for that fight. Yeah, I'm gonna be it on. That's gonna be crazy.
Now a lot of Joshua, can you hear me?
Yeah, you back.
Yeah, sorry, man. I think we had another hiccup there. I think we're back to normal. But what I was gonna say is, you know, I've had a lot of kind of fighters, even coaches, tell me, you know, they stick around for these fighters rep cards. They want to see who wins. They want to know who wins. I mean, what are your feelings so far? You know, I'm not fishing for compliments here, but what are your feelings so far about the promotion and the fights that were on this promotion, especially on the last event? You know.
I think it was like everyone was telling me it was like every other fight someone was getting knocked out. So the action is always there. The promotion is getting better and better. My guy, what was his name? Sean, the motivational speaker. My name.
Sean G.
Sean G. Yeah, having him there was cool. He's a very good, cool guy, and it was just it was very smooth. I love Fighters Rep, man. It's just getting bigger and better every time.
I appreciate it, champ. Thank you so much for that, man. Yeah, I mean, that last event, you know, was crazy. I think out of the 21 bouts we had 9 knockouts, and I was just like, you know, between the Cam fight, your fight, and the David Marquez versus Yadir Perez fight, where they dropped each other, and then
the death dealer.
Yeah.
Jason's
I
fight.
mean, is that not the most turned up kid you've ever seen in your life? The death dealer.
Yes. Yeah, he has a good energy. He has a dope energy, man. And yeah, that was tight. To get dropped like that and get back up, see it through, in with a head kick. Yeah, it was dope.
For sure. Well, David Rivera's in here, champ. He says, "I need one of those hats you got on, George. You're not getting this hat, brother. You gotta be from a certain place to wear this, David. Sorry, you can't have this way." And then he's insulting my Wi-Fi. He says I have Taco Bell Wi-Fi. Thank you so much, David. Oh, you see what I got to deal with on the daily, Joshua.
Getting picked up.
Champ, listen, man, thank you so much for your time. I don't want to take up any more of your time. You know, it's just such a pleasure to always catch up with you and talk to you. I really do feel like, and I'm going to tell you this in front of these people, you know, I really do feel like you're like the role model type of champion. You're the kind of person that I think every promoter would love to have. And, you know, it's such an honor and a pleasure to work with you and your team. And I feel like your family, like my family, you know, this is a family business, as you guys can
Yes.
tell. And my family, I mean, they're all in love with your family, you know, from top to bottom. They absolutely love your family. So, you know, shout out to your father, man. I got to give a shout out to your father for raising such amazing gentlemen. And, you know, much love to your brothers too, man. Freaking awesome having you guys on the show. And I really look forward to seeing you. I really look forward to seeing you on December 3rd for Fighters Rep 16 as a coach. Anything you want to say? The floor is yours.
Just want to say thank you, George. Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me on all these dope shows, man, and being able to be a leader, be able to be a role model to all these people. I want to give a shout out to Blackbeard Kickboxing, my whole team. They're just great, constantly pushing me. My brothers, my daughters, NutriShop, Riverside, Merino Valley, RC Kennels, my sponsors, and man, just, you know, I'm happy and blessed. All glory to God. We're doing great things and only going to get bigger and better from here, George.
Thank God, man. And guys, if you're interested in sponsoring not only the show, but the champ, Joshua the Crook Caldwell, man, this guy is a special athlete. This guy is a specimen of a fighter. Reach out to him on Instagram at Don't Call Me Josh. You reach out to me. I would love to facilitate and do whatever I can, not just for him, but if there's any fighter on the card you guys are interested in sponsoring, please get at me. I'd be happy to facilitate that. One more thing I wanted to say to you, Josh, man. You know, I mentioned the role model thing. I mentioned you're not just a fighter. I love the way you're working the mic, and you made an amazing post-fight speech at the last event, right? You know, Joshua Shibata says, hey, somebody on this card, he was talking about Raymond Martinez, said somebody on this card called you out. You know, what do you feel about that? You said, look, this isn't the WWE where you talk, you know, where you talk and somebody sets up to fight. You got to earn this shit. You said, you got to earn this shit. And if George feels like you deserve it, he'll make it happen. And you can come get beat up too. So, I mean, I just thought that was such a cold post-fight interview, man. I mean, did you just come up with that off the top or had you rehearsed something?
No, I haven't rehearsed it. No, that's just how we are, man. Old fashioned. You know what I mean? We put in the work. There's not much talking to do at a point.
I feel like we need a shirt. I feel like Kings United needs a shirt. You can come get beat up too.
Let's go.
We need a shirt for that one, and maybe like a picture of you going like this or something like that. You know, it has to happen. But anyway, thank you again, Chet, man. I really appreciate your time, man. Thank you so much. Have a great night, man.
All right. All love. Thank you, man.
Thank you guys for joining us. Subscribe if you haven't already. Appreciate you guys.